Good morning. Welcome to our webinar about load and performance testing. Today we are going to cover load and performance testing, and we will show you how we fix our own problem. Let's start with our presentation. Today we are going to touch the API endpoints on the real world and how they behave. So first of all, what is load testing and why it matters? Basically, load testing is a load simulation concurrent request to a API endpoint and measure their performance under expected or extreme traffic. Why it is important? It is important nowadays because everything is based on API today. You may see it, you may not see it. Even the website you go, they work with the microservices or APIs. So if it doesn't work the way it is, it will become a bottleneck for your application. It will impact your business. It will impact your user experience and so on. So the goal of load testing is more on how you measure your system capability. That includes your response time, your throughput, your error rate, your stability, and also gives you an idea about where you invest more. This can be your resources, this can be your architecture or your software. So in so what metrics we do when we do the load testing? In a nutshell, we do response times, we do check the throughput, how many requests we send versus what we respond or what the remote system responds against these requests. On the remote server side, you definitely need to check your resources, your DB connections, and so on. So it's not only a one-side equation. You also do everything on the remote system where you do or you perform the load testing. Why it is important, these parameters? These parameters will give us a specific indication about how your system behaves and also whether your system can handle the designed workload or so. So the way how we do these tests, basically we have 5 steps. So first of all, we gather information about the APIs. This can be the URL address, or this can be the capacity and any other requirements. And then with the customer, we start planning the scenarios. This can be a simple test, this can be a more complex test, and so on. And then we execute the test. And then once we execute the test, we have some parameters that we collect specifically for the load testing. And then once the load testing is completed, which I will show you later in this workshop, we will have, we call it reports. That report includes viable information about your system, how it behaves under specific workloads. This can be a request per second, this can be a bandwidth per second, or this can be a request packet per second. Once you have all this information, you can cross-check this information with your application logs or your infrastructure logs and try to find the bottlenecks if there is any. So now I'm gonna, sorry. Sorry, I am, yes. So one of the case study which we would like to show you today is our own system. This graph on the left side shows you one of our data collector. So I don't know whether you know about our products. We have several products, and one of our products, we collect data almost real time from thousands of nodes. And this becomes a problem when you have a real time application where you try to pass the information to the customer real time, and you have a bottleneck. So the graph on the left side shows you one of the data collector where we have performance issues. And what you can see is in the reports where the performance issue starts. As you can see, we start seeing the performance issue around 400 to 500 requests per second. And then initially we thought that we did not have any kind of issues, but over time we realized that the more endpoint we have, the system cannot handle the traffic. And this also shows you and validates that this is the case. And what we did was we did some fine tuning on our infrastructure, and we almost tripled the performance of the system, same system again. So why load gate is important in this case? It is important because it basically removes the assumptions in your business. So initially, we even fall that trap that we thought, okay, we have enough resources, CPUs, RAMs, and so on, that our system will handle thousands of traffic. But that wasn't the case. The case was there was some kind of application bottleneck that we had to fix, and that causes almost 70%, 65% performance degradation. So the graph shows you the real benefits of the application or load tests. So I would like to show you the business value. What we see is over time is the real business value is you basically reduce your downtime and minimize your outages regarding to your performance. This also affects your customer experience, because one of the problem we had is we had this issue in the production environment, and during the test our system stopped working or presenting the data which it was supposed to. And as a result of the troubleshooting, we saw that that was the issue and we fixed it, but that doesn't change the impact on the customer. So customer had a bad experience. Besides that, what it also affects is, again, we thought that we invest good for our infrastructure, like the resources wise, but that wasn't the case. The real case was the application where we think that was the issue. And also, this also gives you the confidence on your side, where you have database decision, where you know that your system, where your system boundaries are, and when you need to basically invest. So this is in a nutshell what we cover, and our platform is pretty straightforward. This is the demo platform. What you see is basically this is one of the offline reports that we run. So what you can see is this is the metadata of the system, where you can see all the relevant information about your test, how much requests or how many requests per second you're sending. And the next section basically shows you the geographical distribution of your sources. As you can see, we can distribute the traffic across 45 different locations. And for this case, we only use 12 of them, like Canada, US, Brazil, South Africa, India, Sri Lanka, Japan, and Finland, Poland, and a few more in Europe. Besides that, as you can see, the system also gives you the summary of what or how your system behaves against these attacks. As you can see, this is a successful test. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I think I have some technical problems. Let me. Can you see my screen? Sorry, apologies. I thought I shared my screen, but that wasn't the case. Sorry. So basically, what you see here is the metadata of the attack about which attacks or which test we are doing, the target address, request per second, when it starts, when it ends, the actual duration of the test, and so on. In this test, as you can see on the left side, you can see the geographical location of the test, like where the test is basically originated. You can also see on the right side the HTTP summary. This HTTP summary basically gives you how successful your test was, or how your system handles the traffic. This is a successful test because, as you can see, all these requests we receive 200 OK response, successful responses. In some cases, this can be distributed over client error, server error, exceptions, and so on. You can also see the source location by numbers and so on. The other part of our solution is we can also monitor the application externally, how it behaves, and what will be the response time. This is completely outside these nodes. We also provide the telemetry data from these nodes, but this one is completely outside to give you a third-party view about how the system behaves. This is where the actual, let's say, the differentiator starts. As you can see with this graphs and the one below, you can see how the system works. Like, for example, how many requests we sent it to the system. The blue lines represents the request, and it's around 400 or 1400 requests per second. And as you can see, all these graphs also shows how these responses work. As you can see, with every request, we receive a successful response. And the average response times with the maximum, minimum, and so on is like that. It's still lower than 0.5 milliseconds, which is pretty good. This also shows you network bandwidth and packet per second, average bandwidth, and so on. The way how the system works, this is the offline. The online part of it is pretty straightforward. As a customer, you choose yourself. We choose the tests. For example, in this test, we are going to use 14 of the bots, and let's say you will have 1400 requests per second, 60 seconds. The minute we press the button, the system automatically schedules the test. In 50 or 48 seconds, the test will start, and you will see the actual behavior of the system over time. By the way, Barish, if there is any question, I'm happy to answer while we are waiting. I'm sorry. So basically, what happens is when the test starts, as you can see, we can dynamically collect the response time and response code from the remote system. As you can see, the metadata of the test over time. You can also collect bandwidth information. This health graph gives you an indication of how the system behaves over time. And when the test finishes, the test will also collect all the telemetry data from 14 different nodes and present the way how it presented in the previous test. Soon we are going to finish. Yes, I saw the question, Barış. Let me finish the presentation and then I will answer the question. As you can see, the test is completed, but we are still collecting the data from the nodes. This may take a bit of time to reach the relevant nodes and collect the data. As you can see, it's finished. And what you can see is, again, similar to the previous one, successful all the time. The distribution of the actual traffic, the response times, request and response distribution over time, and so on. So with regards to your question, there are multiple teams to use these load tests. In some contexts, some of the cybersecurity teams use these load testing to basically utilize their infrastructure, but main users are more the QA users, quality and assurance users, where basically they test their endpoints or microservices and so on. In the case what we show here is a very basic one. We call it quick test. In some cases, you have to basically cascade the test. For example, you create the customer, and then after customer, you create relevant users or relevant products or services related to these customers and so on. So it all depends on the use cases, and we support both use cases. So that's pretty much it. Is like the primary users are QA users, but in some cases, some cybersecurity customers use these platforms as well. If there's no question, I don't want to hold you guys. Yes, you can. You can basically use the platform. The whole idea of this our platform is basically remove the complexity. And as a unskilled user, you can do it. Yes, definitely. If there is no more question, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Thanks.